Hey there, DIY entrepreneurs. In this video, I am going to walk through a basic nurture automation, and we're just going to draw this out first, and I'm going to use a tool called Gliffy. It's a diagramming tool that you can find online at gliffy.com, Gliffy.com, and you can sign up for a free trial, and then it will take you into a very reasonable monthly fee. If you find this useful, you can use this in other types of diagramming tools if you already own something else, or you could use this in another program where, or you can just draw this out on a whiteboard or a piece of paper. It's completely up to you. I like to use Gliffy because it gives me a saved version of the automation that I create or the funnel that I lay out, and I like that. I like to refer back to them. So for me, I like to use Gliffy, and if you're interested, go on over to Gliffy. We're going to build it out here, and then I am going to take this and move it into Infusionsoft, and we're going to build it out there as well so that you can see how it differs. Right now we're just going to visualize. We're going to draw it out as if we were drawing this out on a whiteboard or a piece of paper, and then we'll go in and build it out in Infusionsoft. All right, so let's jump right in. So here we are inside Gliffy, and I have my grid board up, and this will allow me to drop my elements on here so that we can build out this very basic nurture. So if this is your first time building out an automation, this would be a good start. This would be a good option if you have a lead magnet, like an ebook or a checklist or some type of downloadable that you're offering to a potential lead in an effort to obtain their email address. So in this basic nurture, we'll go through the steps of how that would lay out and how you can set that up on your backend in Infusionsoft so that you can get it up on your website. And we're not going to go through the install on the website side of this, but we will go through the steps of setting up the actual basic automation. Some things to think about are, do you have a download that you're going to be offering, or is this just going to be a newsletter opt-in? Both will work in this scenario, and I'll just mention the different elements you can remove if you are just doing something like a newsletter sign up. So let's get started. The first thing we're going to do is determine how we're getting our traffic into our funnel, right? Because there's got to be a starting point somewhere, and that could be a number of things. So we'll just drop those on the board here. Those could be anything from an ad to a social media post. It could be an email you send out to an existing list or a purchase list, or it could be a call to action item on your website, maybe a link in a blog post. Perhaps it's a call to action on your sidebar. It might be at the bottom of your blog post. So all of these are ways that you can get people into your funnel, and you don't have to do all of these. I'm just mentioning some ways that people have to enter into the funnel. So we have to get them there, and these are some of the options that we can use to get them there. Then once we get them into the funnel, what happens next? We have to think about, well, where am I sending them? And that's usually what we refer to as a squeeze page, a landing page, a sales page of some type. We want to give them a place to go so that they can actually fill in their name and email. So if we look here, we've dropped in a landing page with an opt-in, and these can be in a variety of layouts, and we're not going to go into all those details, but basically it's a page that has some information on it. Maybe it has a video. It definitely has an opt-in page because this is where they are putting in their name and email. Now, there are two-step opt-ins, which are common as well, and that would just look like a button that lays on the page. And this is common in things like ClickFunnels and lead pages, where you just have a button. They push the button first, and then that takes them to a pop-up that is where they put their name and email in. So that's a two-step opt-in. We don't have a demonstration of that here, but just you can imagine that to be the case if you're using something like lead pages or ClickFunnels. So from ad to landing page, now we're going to connect all this up so that you can see what it's going to look like. So we've just drawn some lines in here to say that each of these leads to the landing page. And then what happens now after they fill in their name and email? Well, we need a thank you page or a download page. We need to send them somewhere, right? So let's think about what that next item is. because as you're building this out, the elements that you have here have to be created. So you're going to have to create a landing page or an opt-in page. You're going to have to create a thank you page or a download page. So here I've dropped on the board a thank you page, and you could also use a download page. In either case, whichever one you're using, you want to connect it as the next step. And now we want to think of, okay, well, what comes after the thank you page? What happens after that? Generally, what happens is you send out an email. So you want to send out your first email to this potential lead, and this thank you page may have your download. Maybe you have a download page where they can download that checklist or that ebook, but then you also want to send them out an email, and that email will be sent to them to give them another opportunity to download the item, but also welcome them. And you may also have it so that it's a double opt-in, so that they have to actually confirm their email address before they can get the download. So in that case, you might want to make this thank you page be something like, okay, check your email now and confirm your email, and then your download will be sent to you, right? So if you have a double opt-in, that may be the next step after this. So we see that here now on the board, we have an email that's going to go out to your customer, or your lead rather, and that will send them whatever information you think is appropriate. And we're just going to connect these here like so. And so as you can see, the first thing they're going to get is that email, whatever that email may be. They'll get that email and they will double opt in. Let's just assume that they opt into the list. So here they get their download, and now what happens? Well, now we want to do the actual nurture part, and you'll have to give this some thought. But basically, you want to send out a series of emails to the customer, and if this is an initial entry into your funnel, these emails should be used to introduce this lead to your brand, give them some value. You don't want to just bombard them with information and sales pitches and things like that initially. What you want to do here in this basic nurture is to introduce them to you, build some authority, give some value items such as a link to a blog post or another valuable download for them. Maybe it's an ebook again, or maybe it's a checklist, maybe it's a playbook, maybe it's something that you've developed to give them some value, something that this lead would want, and that is based on your avatar, the person who you know is your ideal client or customer, and send them a series of emails that include a combination of introduction to you. So tell them about you, some backstory, how you got started, where you are, what you know, why they should listen to you, things like that. Then some value items like some instruction, general education material, blog posts, checklists, all sorts of things to build up your authority. So you want to give some thought to that. And once you have that series of emails built out, you want to get them into the series. So I go with about 5 to 7 emails. And here we see them. We have 5 emails going out now to the lead, but we don't want to send them all at once, right? So we actually have to think about some timing in between these. And there are many schools of thought on this. I'm going to give you my school of thought, and this is my opinion. This is what I have noted to work. Sometimes you'll get a lead who is just not into this, so you will lose a lead. But the key here is that we're looking to attract people who we know want our material, right? They want to get our information. They want to know more about us. So I always do these within 24 hours. So this lead is going to get a series of 5 to 7 emails over 5 to 7 days, introducing them to the brand, telling them more about me, building authority, giving them value items, all sorts of things to kind of keep me top of mind. I want to be in their brain for the next 5 to 7 days so that I can establish a connection, start to build trust and authority. So for me, I'm going to put in some timers in between these emails, and those timers are going to be 24 hours in between each email. So here we have the timers, and I set my timers for exactly 24 hours from the time they sign up for the list, and here's why. I think that it's, again, my opinion, and there are some other people who hold the same opinion, but basically when people are online chasing shiny objects or doing research, they're doing it at a point when they have some downtime. And for a lot of us, that downtime comes at the same point in our day. Now, maybe it's within a certain number of hours, but generally, maybe you're sitting in bed after a day, the kids are in bed, you're going through your phone, you see something, you're logging in. Well, the chances are that 24 hours later, at that same period of time, that lead is going to have downtime again. And it won't always be the case, but there's a good chance that this person is going to be available to receive my emails during that period of time. So I set my timers for exactly 24 hours from the last. So this email will be delivered the exact time that they opt in and join my list. And then 24 hours later, they'll get this one, this one, this one, and this one. So they'll 24 hours in between, but basically within the same time span. So if the person opts into my list at 8 p.m. on Sunday, then 8 p.m. on Monday, they'll get my next email, and 8 p.m. on Tuesday, and so on and so forth. So that I make the assumption on my end that this person is showing some availability during this time, so I want to hit them at that time. You can change this up. You can make this every 2 days if you'd like. You can test it, which I highly recommend. So you can test it with your list at a 24-hour interval, and if people are jumping off too frequently, then you may want to try it with every 2 days. You may want to try it every 3 days. It's completely up to you, but the point is you obviously don't want to send all these emails at once. You want to send them over a period of time. And so for most people, this would be what you would consider the end of the nurture automation. But there's some very important elements missing, and I'm going to go into them now. And what they are tags. And we use tags in both Infusionsoft and ActiveCampaign, and in most of these automation or CRMs where you're actually sending out a series of emails. And this is more so in things like Infusionsoft, not so much in MailChimp, though you have some other things that you can do in there. So in this case, we're going to use some tags, which are common in Infusionsoft, and we're going to tag the lead when they come into the funnel for the first time. And what I want to tag them with, if I put some tags up on the board here, I want to get an initial tag here. And this tag I use to identify that the person has come in to this funnel, has entered this particular automation, so I know where they are, and I want to tag that they are going through this automation. And the reason I want to tag that they're going through this automation is because I am sending them an email every day. Now, if I have a series of automations and campaigns going on in Infusionsoft, I may have a newsletter list going out. I may have a program launch going on. I may have another series of educational material that I'm sending out. I don't want this lead bombarded and overwhelmed with emails. I am already sending them an email a day. If I send them through this particular automation, I want to know that they're going through here, and I also want to identify them so that they don't go simultaneously through any other automation by mistake. In other words, if this person is getting every 24 hours they are getting an email, I don't also want to send them my newsletter at that point. It's going to overwhelm them. I don't want them thinking that I'm just going to spam them like crazy. So I want to identify that they are going through this automation so that I can opt them out of all other mailings and emails, and you can make the decision on this, what you do or don't want them to see. But my rule is that if they are going through a nurture series and they are first coming into my funnel, the only thing I want them to see are these 5 or 7 emails. So I tag them accordingly, and when we build this in Infusionsoft, I'll show you why that's so important. Then and I'm going to pull my screen over a little here, as we get them through the automation and they are now done. They've gone through the series of emails. I want to tag them again, and I want to remove the original tag. So when we build this in Infusionsoft, you'll see that I'm going to remove this initial tag because now they're no longer going through the automation. Now they are complete. So I want to remove that tag and add a new tag that they've completed it, or that they've been indoctrinated, or that they have finished this series. And then I may also want to add a tag where I am identifying them as going into another series. So here we see that tagging taking place. So we may tag them into a secondary nurture campaign or a secondary automation. We may just tag them as completed, and we may also tag them into maybe a product launch sequence. But the point is, you may have more than one tag here at the end. So this is it in a nutshell. This is the basic nurture. Now we're going to jump on over into Infusionsoft, and we're going to build this out in Infusionsoft as it would lay out actually there. And then a little later after that, we'll go into ActiveCampaign and we will build it out there as well. We are now in Infusionsoft. We're in a campaign. I've created a new campaign with the campaign builder, and we're going to build out this basic nurture funnel now in Infusionsoft. So the first thing we need is our entry point. Now obviously these items are sitting off page. They're not part of the Infusionsoft. The only piece that we need in Infusionsoft is the actual opt-in, and that's going to come in the form of a web form. So we're going to drag the web form item over here, and we're going to name this opt-in to basic nurture. And if we open this up here, we'll double click on it inside Infusionsoft and open this up so we can see what fields we're currently collecting on this form and just do some additional settings. So in here we have first name and email. As a rule, that those are the only two fields that I require when opting in. I am just getting the basic information. You may have to collect more information than this, first name, last name, and you can drag those snippets onto the board here as needed, into the form rather, and then you can update anything that you need to here on the form. If you're using something like lead pages or ClickFunnels, this opt-in box, this web form, is actually going to be integrated with those two items, so you don't need to do a lot of design here. However, if this is going on your website or on a landing page, you may want to incorporate a little bit more of the design element in the layout and style area. So you can come in here and do all sorts of formatting to these based on your layout and style, and I will not get into that in this video, but you can go ahead and play around with that here. The next thing you want to set after you've chosen the fields and whether or not those fields are required, you can go ahead and design a thank you page. And here I just have a basic thank you page up. You can go ahead and redirect them instead to a web address where the thank you page they receive is maybe a lead page, or maybe it's another page on your website. So you can go ahead and redirect them to that page here. So once they opt in, they'll automatically be redirected to that page. But if you'd like to use the default, you can go ahead and do that here, and you can add in additional elements here like images, HTML code, all sorts of things. So feel free to look in here and see what you might need to build this page out. You can format these using the format button. Once you have this completely designed, you want to go ahead and set it to ready. We're going to go back here now. So now we have the basic opt-in form, which we're seeing as the entry point here, and the thank you page, which we've just created. So now we have to go into the rest of this here, and we're going to do that inside Infusionsoft in a sequence. Now, I did mention that you may want to do a confirmation before you start tagging them, and you would use this email confirmation item, this sequence here. in lieu of this. In this particular setup that I'm doing, I'm going to eliminate that and I'm just going to get to basics. So once I drop this sequence on the board, once they opt in, they'll automatically jump right into the sequence. So we're just going to call this tagging and nurture. And now we're going to double click on that and we're going to start building out the tagging. So the first thing we want to do is drop a tag, and that tag, you can double click here and add a tag. You can apply it and then select a tag that you want to use in your system to identify them going through the funnel. So I would name it something like going through, or new lead going through basic nurture. For instance, you can name whatever naming convention you use, you can utilize that in the system, but you want to easily be able to identify them as a new lead, that they're going through this funnel, that they're actually going through, that they haven't completed it yet, so you can always identify them. So once you have that, you want to go ahead and save that. And then going back to our nurture here, we want to get out that first email. So let's drop that on the board. We're going to put that email here, and you can build this email out to say whatever you like. Double click it and just go on ahead and edit that as you see fit. So we'll call this email 1, and this will have our deliverables if we've decided that that's how they're going to get their download, or we will just offer the download in this email. But this is just a welcome, thank you for joining, what to expect sort of things. Then we want to get that timer in place, right? So we have that timer, that first timer, and then we're going to do these series of emails. So I'm going to drop them all on the board, and then we'll talk a little bit about what's next. All right, so I have 5 emails on the board, and I have a 24-hour delay timer in between each. Now I haven't set these yet, so I just want to run through one quick with you and just show you how I would set this up. So I would set this up 24 hours on any day at any time, and I would leave it exactly like this and hit save. Then I would do the same for each of these timers, and I would fill out my emails accordingly, and I would recommend that you have at least 2 or 3 of these emails, 3 is best, be more value emails, and I try to give that value up front in these first couple of emails. Then maybe an instructional video over to the blog, some places you can go, join me on social, that sort of thing. Then another value email. So think about some value items that you can offer right up front to give some really good value to your list when they opt in. And if you don't have this right now, it's fine. It absolutely is. I don't want you to stress this stuff. You can always build on this. If you want to just get them into your list and you just have one value item, that's fine. Get it delivered. Give them some information about you, build authority, maybe send them to a blog post you did, an article that's online somewhere that was published by you. All of that is great to give away. And then just think about what you can add later, but don't let not having that delay you. You really just want to get yourself set up for this. Okay, so we have all of this, and now we have to do that last tag. That last tag, we're going to remove this one. So whatever this one is, we're just going to duplicate it. And instead of apply, what we're going to do is remove. So whatever that tag was, you just want to change it to remove and then hit save. So this will be remove the tag. And so that now removes the tag that they're going through the sequence since they finished. And then we want to add a final tag, and maybe there's more than one tag, but basically we want to say that they've been indoctrinated. So this will be another apply tag, and you just want to apply a tag that makes sense. Basic nurture, indoctrinated would be fine. Then if you want to, from this point, send them into another campaign that is triggered by a tag, you can put that tag in here as well. So you can apply more than one tag here if you need to send them somewhere else, or if you want to identify them in another way, go ahead and do that. But basically, this is all that is going in this sequence now. Based on what we drew out here, we're done. But in Infusionsoft, we actually have to do some additional work, and the work that we're doing is going to cover the bases in case somebody comes back through that's already been here. So let's say somebody's been through your nurture campaign and they accidentally opt back in, or somehow in another way get to this form and start going back through this nurture. Well, we don't want to send them all those emails over again. Maybe if it was 6 months later, maybe we might want to, but by then the message might have changed anyway, and we might be doing something completely different. But for the purposes of this, what we want to cover is not sending them back through this nurture if they just went through it. It makes no sense, it's redundant. So we're going to remove this connection for now. We're going to move this up. And actually we'll move this down, and then we're just going to drop another sequence on the board, and this is going to be an already been through sequence. And what that means is that they've already gone through this nurture sequence, and I don't want them to go through again. So I want to identify them as soon as they opt in, and maybe I want to send a different message here entirely, like, hey, I see that we've already been introduced. I'm glad that you're back. You don't have to put anything here, but you do want to identify them so that you don't send them through this. And the way that you do that is with a decision diamond. So we are going to take a connection from this opt-in form, and we're going to connect it to both of these sequences, and that will create a decision diamond right here. And what we're going to say in this decision diamond is that if somebody has that ending tag that they've already gone through, sorry, it's this one, that they've already gone through and been indoctrinated, if we see that on their record, don't send them here. Send them up here instead. And we want to make sure, now this can be an empty bucket. It can be empty. There doesn't have to be anything here. And the point being that we just don't want to send them through here. Or you can just send them a different message entirely. So you're going to double click inside your decision diamond here, and you're just going to add some rules. So the rules for already been through, we are going to, if the contacts tags contains, and then you'll put your tag here. So you'll click this please edit, and you'll search for the tag that you use to show they've been indoctrinated, and you'll put that here, and you'll leave that as it is. And then down here you're going to do the same thing, except where it says contains, you're going to have doesn't contain. So you'll choose doesn't contain, and you'll make that as this rule down here, because if it doesn't contain that tag, you do want to nurture them. So you want to set up your decision diamond that way. Now after they opt in, the system will check to see if they have that on their record already, and if they do, they won't go through the nurture series again. One final step here I'm going to point out is if you have a rather large nurture series, let's say you have this going on over 2 weeks. Let's say instead of every 24 hours, you're sending it every 2 days, and it's a 7 email series. Well, somewhere along the line, that person has decided they're getting annoyed, they don't want to be part of this anymore, and they haven't gone through the normal unsubscribe. They are unclear, they didn't see it, they just want to send you an email to tell you to take them off the list. Well, we can create a tag here that will actually pull the individual out of the sequence. So we're going to call this a stop tag, right? And we're going to apply this anytime we need to hit a contact record with a tag to pull them out of a sequence. And these stop tags should be identified in such a way that they mimic the name of the campaign. So if you have a series of campaigns, you might have a series of stop tags to pull them out of that campaign. And we're just going to connect this here. So what will happen now is if this stop tag is applied on the contact record, no matter where they are in this sequence, they'll be pulled out. So if you want to stop someone from going through this entire sequence, you can pull them out manually by applying this stop tag to their contact record. So this is just a little fail safe, and if you want, you can put these people in a bucket that's an empty bucket, or perhaps you can send them to a survey. Hey, I saw you opted out. How can I improve? That sort of thing. So you can have another sequence down here, or you can just have them saved here in this empty bucket for reporting purposes. So I always like to apply the stop tag. I highly recommend it. This way, if you get a complaint like that, you can easily go to the contact record, apply that tag, pull them out, have your VA or your customer service people do that and pull them out so that they're no longer getting this nurture series for whatever reason. Maybe they'll come back again another day. Maybe they're going into another series of yours. Whatever the case, you want to have that there. Hey, I just wanted to interject here and say, if someone is looking to unsubscribe from your list, unsubscribe them. I don't want to mislead you into thinking that if somebody is asking to get off your list entirely, you should do an end around. That's not the point here. If someone is looking to get off your list, take them off your list. Obviously, they're not interested and they're annoyed. You don't want them to report you as spam, so just get them off the list. However, if someone is just saying that they're getting too many emails, perhaps you can use this process to pull them out of that automation and yet keep them in your list. So just wanted to clarify that, and you can learn more about the CAN-SPAM Act by searching it online and what the regulations are in your particular area or country. So I only use these stop tags as an opportunity to maybe pull someone out temporarily if they feel like they're getting too many emails, but maybe they indicate they still want to remain on the list, but they're kind of done with this series. Okay, done clarifying. Moving on. So once you're all done with this, you can go ahead and publish, and that will complete your campaign. And I would say test it a couple of times. Make sure that the decision diamond is working by getting yourself through the nurture campaign and then re-opting in, making sure you're landing in this bucket. And you can go ahead and push yourself through without having to wait on the timers. We'll do that in another video. Please look for that. And that is it. You are complete. Your basic nurture is set, and you can create as many of these as you need to give away different leads or different lines of business, or get people into different funnels for different products or services. So I hope this was helpful. If you have questions, please leave them in the comments below. I try to address them all as they come in quickly, and I would love to know where I may have missed something or something doesn't make complete sense to you. And then in the next segment of this video, if you are ActiveCampaign, we'll go into the ActiveCampaign version of this same automation. All right, I'll see you there. Bye. Okay, we are in ActiveCampaign and we have started a new automation. So I went to automations, new automations, and I did a start from scratch. And the first thing we're going to add is a trigger. And what you want to add for a trigger is for them to opt into a list. So I'm just going to have when they subscribe to a list. So basically when they opt into your list, this will trigger this automation to begin. It's going to run once, and we're not going to segment at this point. We're just going to add the start. Now, the first thing we want to do, if we refer back to this, is we want to get a tag in place. So the first thing we want to do is we want to add that entry tag. Going to contacts, we want to add tag, and we'll just call this going You can call it whatever you like, but you want to identify them going through that. Then we want to add in our emails, right? So we're going to add in email 1. Just grab a real simple email template here. And I'm just going to save and exit. Okay, so this is our first email, and then we're going to put a wait timer in here. So we're going to go to waiting, and we're going to wait for 24 hours. And then we're going to do the same thing. We're going to add in on our next email, 24 hours next email. I'll add all of those in, and then I will pause the video while I do that and jump back in when I'm done. Okay, so all of these emails are now built out, and I've got a 24-hour timer in between each of them. So they'll get email 1 with my download perhaps. They'll get email 2 24 hours later from that time. So if it was 8 p.m., 8 p.m. the next day, 8 p.m. the next day, 8 p.m., 8 p.m. And this, like I said in the previous video, and if you didn't stay for Infusionsoft, I'll just reiterate it here, is these emails up front should be your value emails. So you should immediately start to deliver some value, whether that's sending them to a blog post you wrote, giving them an ebook, giving them a checklist, giving them some value educational content that they can use in their own business or whatever it is they're doing. If it's an exercise chart, something that they can use right away to get benefit and value. Then you can start to tell them the story of you and how you got started, and maybe send them to your social and then give them some additional value. But I highly recommend that these emails provide more value right up front so that they know that by being on your list, they're going to get some great value, and you want to demonstrate that right from the beginning. Now, we have the tag at the beginning, and now we have to remove that tag. So when they get to this point, we want to go ahead and remove a tag, and we're going to remove that same tag. That's the same tag we added when they came in. We just want to get rid of it now because they are no longer going through the nurture. And we want to add the indoctrination tag. So we'll do that. And you can go ahead and add in any additional tags if you want to tag them into another automation or move them onto another list, however you want to continue after this point. Otherwise, you can go ahead at this point and just end the automation. Like so. Now, some things to consider is when someone's coming through for the first time, you want them to go through the nurture. However, if someone is coming through and they've already been through this nurture, you don't want to send them through again. So up here at the very beginning, we're going to use an if else. And what we want to say is that if the contacts tag exists, that they've been indoctrinated. So we're going to put that indoctrinated tag here. If the contacts tag exists, if the tag exists on the record that nurture indoctrinated, we don't want to send them through the funnel. So we're actually going to move all of this over. So let me just to the no. I'm going to move all of the following actions, and we're going to choose that. Okay, so does the contact match the following? Has the tag indoctrinated? No, we'll send them through the funnel. If yes, you can send them through a different automation altogether, or you can just end this automation. I would recommend putting a message in here stating, hey, I see you're already on the list. Thank you for signing up, and maybe give them the download again. So a lot of people might opt back in because they lost the download or they're trying to get it again for whatever reason. So you may want to just put an email in here to offer them that and let them know that, you know, you're giving them the download, but then end the automation or send them on their way to wherever it is that they need to go. So you want to have that condition in place to kind of segment people out so that they don't go back through this if they've already been through it once. It's redundant. They don't need to see all those emails again. If it's 6 months later, maybe they forgot everything, but the point is that if they come back tomorrow and sign up, you really don't want to send them back through here. So that is the thinking behind this. And that's it. So that ends this automation now. You've created the tag, and then you've removed that tag when they were done, and you've indoctrinated them so that when they have this tag on the record, you can identify them if they come back through. And again, you can decide what you want to do after this point, if you want to send them onto another automation, into another list, whatever the case may be. But that is how you get this basic nurture funnel in place inside of ActiveCampaign. So I hope this helped a lot. If you have any questions about this segment, please leave it also in the comments below. I'll try to answer them as quickly as possible. And if I've missed something or there's a step that isn't quite clear, let me know and I'll give some further clarification in the comments. Thanks. Take care. See you in the next video.